Oh, are you horizontal or vertical?
I am horizontal. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Hi.
Let's
Did I
align.
go? Oh, does that work?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Oh, where'd you go? There you are.
Here we go. Welcome. Okay, we're going. We are live and going. Welcome everyone to the Clarion Call. I am Jen Snyder, and today, my favorite self-mastery coach on the whole entire Eastern Seaboard is joining me. Welcome, Jessica Rueger.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. Good to see you. So Jess and I have been chatting, like we do. And we kind of, when we have our fun little conversations, we kind of zero in on a topic and say, whoa, that would be really helpful. I think let's expand on that a little bit and let's get the word out on that topic. So just yesterday we were chatting about just about current events and the psychological impact of current events. And we kind of expanded on this this one theme of everyone, when we look out the window, we see a lot of digging heels in, standing my ground, this is my stance, this is the truth, this is the way, this is the word, and basically just a very rigid grasp of a perspective. And so, Jess and I, we like to talk about and we like to share ideas about how to kind of maybe come back off of that rigidity in considering another option, considering another perspective, considering that while you are looking out of your two eyeballs and you see XYZ, that might be true. That is what your eyeballs are telling you is what is out in front. And there might also be more information that you're unaware of, hidden, or, just more information to be gathered. So we just want to just chat today about what it is to stand like mountain, move like water with our belief system, and what that looks like. And, because we're seeing a lot of confrontational exchanges out there on social media, as I'm sure everyone is also seeing here in the month of August 2020. And so we just wanted to kind of lend a hand on, if you're having a one of those, what do you do for yourself? How do you kind of step back, take a deep breath? And how do you, how do we handle that situation? So Jess, in all of that, I know I just said a lot, but first of all, can you just speak to what a belief system is and how we orient ourselves in space with our belief system? So just give us just kind of like a structure that we can build on. What is the belief system? How does that help us orient in space?
Okay. Yes. The belief system is our orientation, and it's developed from the moment we enter into the womb until we're about between, people say 5 and 7. And so it's everything that we're perceiving. Everything that we're perceiving, not just what we see, but also what we hear, what we're intuiting, because at a young age, we're still very intuitive beings and very sensitive to energy. So everything that we're interpreting for those foundational years before the individuation process become our beliefs, become the way that we believe the world is. Okay. And once we believe the way the world is, that's our stability. That's our safety. That's how we remain sane within this structure, within this orientation. And so you can imagine that when that gets challenged, it it really creates a lot of friction and conflict in the body because we think we know the right way. And, once we develop those core beliefs and, really live our lives proving them to be true, when someone challenges that, it's disorienting. It's disorientating. And it's very scary when you think, what? This isn't the way it is. But what does that mean? And how can that be? So, the rigidity that you're speaking of is really our protection of that orientation, our protection of ourselves in that orientation. And, it's very fundamental and foundational. And if we think that we're wrong, ego says, we can't be wrong. We have to be right on this. We have to be right on this. And so a lot of integration needs to happen. We're projecting a lot out. And what I'm learning about my own self is it's a very internal experience. It's a lot of integration. It's a lot of inquiry. And really, taking that pause, as you say, is like, where am I right now? Where am I? What is real? What am I interpreting this to be? And then, a series of questions to kind of get us out of the quagmire of conflict and more into, widening our perspective and becoming more objective and less subjective to the reality that we're seeing. My husband and I watched a movie the other day called Superhuman, I think it's called. And something that really became abundantly clear to me was what you were talking about, the eyeballs. So in this documentary, they actually blindfold people, even blind people. Okay. And in doing this, they found that they actually intuit what's going to happen before they see what's going to happen. So we think that we see something and then interpret it. And that becomes true as we age. We rely on our vision to see what we see solely. And before the eye sees something, the energetic experience of our physiology experiences something. And then we're braced for it. So it's really interesting. And I recommend everyone go check out that documentary because it's full of all kinds of really amazing scientific facts. And you get to see people actually experiencing how you can move something. What we're capable of is way beyond what we can see.
And would you say that documentary would challenge most people's belief system?
Absolutely. Good point. It should, and it will. It certainly will, because, we're so fixed on what we believe. And again, it's about safety.
Sure.
We need to feel safe because what we've done here in this human experience is we've assumed that survival is the reason to be here, that we got to stay alive, to the death. And it's actually, as I'm finding in my own experience, it's about increasing the quality of this experience in this existence. And if we're constant, so say it again.
Well said. Beautiful.
Yeah,
I love that concept. Yeah.
Yeah. So when we're constantly just trying to stay alive, our whole orientation becomes surviving.
And then we see threat when we believe threat is everywhere. Then when we look out of our eyeballs, we see threats everywhere. And when I say look out of our eyeballs, it's very important to make the distinction that, and there's so much science and so many studies behind it, but what we see, this is a transaction basically. When we look out of our eyeballs and that information comes back through our eyes, comes into the back through the rods and cones, and that's a transaction. Okay. And it's not always an accurate transaction. So we take that for granted, right? Can you speak to that for just a minute about how, our just recapping on our belief system, what we believe to be true will define that transaction. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever we believe to true, we are orientated to seek proof of that truth.
Yes.
And we're going to look at it because our focus Okay. Our, whatever we're focusing on becomes our reality. And if we expect what our underlying assumption is about a person, a situation, a law, a politician, a country, a religion, whatever it is, once we've defined it, it's final. Never put those two together, but once we define it, it becomes final. We're like, you know, that book's been written and I'm all in. That's my definition. That's the way I perceive the world. And don't even try to get me to see it another way, because that's what it is. So once we have that, and it's everywhere, you know, and I use my relationship with my husband so much as an example, because I've been able to witness and experience the transformation that can happen when you work with your focus and when you question your definitions. Because when I was seeing him a certain way, that's all I would see. And that also brings up a valid point that when we're so emotionally attached to what we're seeing, that really takes away the accuracy, because we're so in our own thoughts and feelings about it and what we're making it mean and taking it personally, that we're having this whole internal experience that's filtering, you know, what the eyes are seeing and making it mean what we think it needs to mean to fit the script that supports our belief system and allows us to feel safe within the confines of our illusion, if you will.
Yeah, beautifully stated. And one of the things that I adore this, you've said, I've heard you say this for years, we've got to stalk the story. So just to give this a little bit of context, this has been a challenging year, and it has challenged us in ways that most of us probably did not anticipate, that life could be just upended. There are a lot of things that we thought would be very stable, four on the floor, not changing, and those things have changed, right? So we understand that, you know, a medical emergency can land on a family, and that will upend everything, and we can wrap our brains around that. This has really expanded our awareness of what upended really means, right? So as we look out the front door and we see things changing, I mean, it's like, you know, moment by moment, we are, and new information coming in, and it seems like every day we're hearing something new and something more outrageous. Okay. And so as we begin to, as we find our orientation through that, and we feel, I think you mentioned earlier, that pain come up. No, this can't be this. And you feel that, you know, you start to contract and holding on and trying to narrowly define. That can literally manifest as pain in the body. And I've seen it in conversation with people where absolutely will not consider that perspective. No, ma'am. And this just, you know, so I wanted to just ask you to speak to that. Like, how do we, when we start to feel that, give me like 3 steps, or, you know, I'd like to say stop, drop, and roll away from that. When you start to feel
You stop for sure, right? Stop. Start with stop.
Start with a stop.
I can only really speak from my own experience. And, you know, my coach, Mark DeFrancia, has taught me so much about stalking the story. So thanks for bringing that up, because that has been revolutionary in my own evolution, as well as, you know, how I can support clients. But for me personally, it requires awareness. And we have an opportunity to practice awareness all the time. So the more practice you can get at being aware of what's happening right now, the more prepared you can be when shit hits the fan. So being aware of the body sensations, having a lot of curiosity to what's happening, you know, where are you feeling, what you're feeling, and then pausing kind of into that, like what's going on, and getting really curious. What just happened there? Because immediately, if we're not aware, we're going to shove it right back. You know, it's like hot potato. Oh, here, it's yours. Take it, take it. We want to push all this stuff out of us to feel safe in order to survive. So instead of pushing it out, it's really important to be with what is in here and be curious and patient. You know, not being in a hurry to figure out, but be open and really curious about the unknown. So really suspending yourself in that unknown space for a moment, create that big spaciousness and know, you know, if you can give yourself just a little bit of, you know, I like to anchor myself and just acknowledge that I'm here with me, I've got me, and what do I want to do with this? You know, what's happening here? So and it can go in a number of ways. So in my own experience, like this morning, for example, my son woke up saying that I told him that he could play his game all day today, which I do not recall that. I do not recall saying that. No part of me recalls saying that. And it just started us all in kind of this, because we have this judgment about our son being on his game. And so I walked into the room and my husband was saying, I don't think that she said that. And I was like, I don't have any recollection of saying that. And he's like, you promised. And I heard him also before that saying that Daddy promised me you promised me, Dad, that I could be on my iPad all day. So in his dream state, he created this reality. And so it started us all off on kind of this place. And I contributed to it. And then my husband, you know, responded with, I don't think that's where we need to go. And immediately alarms went off in my body. And my interpretation of that is, oh, I'm being controlled in what I can say. And if all conflict is inner conflict, then I got some work to do. And I went into pushing it out, right? Quick response, something snarky, like, oh, okay, we'll go where you want to go, which is like the same place I was going, but okay. That was my response in my alarm to needing to be safe and needing to be right. Like, we can teach this stuff, we can read about this stuff, but the work is in the moment. And then bringing like some grace to yourself as soon as you're aware of what's happening, get curious about it. So went for a nice long walk. I got real clear with what was happening for me. I saw that I wasn't being patient with myself, and that because of my conditioning, because of those beliefs, that I had a need for some of that conditioning. I needed them to respond in a way that was appropriate, the way I was taught that people respond to that kind of thing, right? So all the juiciness happens in the moment in real life. And that's when you're required to just keep going for it and keep going for it. And when I say go for it, I mean, tune in. What's happening? What am I making it mean when my husband says this? What am I making it mean when the president says that? What am I making it mean when my mom says this? How am I defining myself? Most importantly, what am I making it mean about me that I, that I shouldn't go wherever that was going? Because I'm usually the peacemaker, but in my truth, I'm like, I'm going to confront everything as it becomes obvious to me and honest to me, and I'm not going to do it the right way. I'm going to do it the way that feels true. And in doing that, I become more curious about what I'm doing and why I'm responding that way. Because that's kind of the upheaval of all of this, right? Where there's a script that we were all given. This is what you say. You say thank you, right? Well, what if we started to develop what gratitude and appreciation feels like in our bodies first, or teach our children to do that first before we demand that they say thank you? This is kind of where I'm going with this, right?
Praise the goddess. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful revelation. How about we do that, folks? Continue. That was gorgeous.
Yeah. So in this quest for truth and to be true and to really commit, it's on my mug today. It seems to be the theme of everything. It's like, be true. It starts in here. I got to see what the heck is going on and not try to enroll people in this conditioning that I'm coming from. I got to get myself straight first. I got to get myself in a place of alignment and truth, and then invite people into that experience. I can't demand that they invite me into theirs. I'm at the mercy of their energy and at the mercy of their unique flavor of conditioning if I expect someone outside of me to do something in order for me to be okay. So I feel like I said a whole lot to answer a simple question. And I know what you wanted was a process. And so the process begins with really deep inquiry. Where am I in this current reality? In this moment, where am I? What's going on? What thoughts am I having? And what feelings are those thoughts creating in me? And what behavior am I tempted to exhibit in response to those thoughts and feelings? So right now, I think it's really important that we start to identify what the thoughts and feelings are and get away from identifying with the thoughts and feelings that we're having. So that is my best start.
Yeah, I love that. That's really important. And, you know, per usual, the really powerful remedy is always the simple one. You know, that's one thing that I see over and over and over again. We look at, you know, we look at the simplicity and think, oh, well, that can't work. But truly, when we stop and notice, and this is one of the things that I just adore about you, is that when you are in conversation, and I've known you for several years, and we've had a lot of, you know, just, we go into the quantum, and we really dig deep into these topics. And I've noticed, and I just love how you will, you know, we tend to both speak really quickly, and we can be like free flowing and go, 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 go. And then all of a sudden you will close your eyes and put your hand over your heart and say nothing for a few minutes. And I'm like,
where'd you go?
And you're tuning in, and it's such a beautiful example of, just because someone has just asked you a question does not mean that you need to rapid fire an answer, right? It's really, really a valuable tool to grab when you stop. You can look out the window. You don't have to close your eyes. You don't have to put your hand on your heart. But by doing that, you are getting into your heart space, because we know the connection that happens when the brain, when you put your hand on your heart, that immediately takes your brain out of this left brain whirlpool tailspin into yeah, into the right brain and the heart, and you really connect with your body. And wow, the flood of information that you get from just that very simple act of then you connect with your breath, and then things become clear, right? This is what I've noticed in myself, in other people. We all do this, I think, and this is for me, I'll speak for myself, can be a lack of awareness. When you're in conversation and you find that you're trying to prove a point, you'll know that because you'll hardly let the person finish the sentence before you know, but this, and that is almost always accompanied with a you kind of feel this, your energy, it's a rapid, it's certainly not relaxed and expansive. You get into this contraction, you're moving forward, you're getting into this masculine energy of no, not that. And in that moment, you can realize that, oh, wow, I'm not leaving possibility for anything other than what I believe to be true. So that's a big, I encourage, like, when you are in that feeling of, I gotta, and you feel the blood pumping, you feel the pulse rising, you feel the color, you know, rising, that usually means that something is being challenged. You're feeling disoriented, but you don't really necessarily have to go down that path. You can just kind of relax into it. Think of Jess putting her hand on her heart, taking a deep breath. Where am I with this? Let me get curious, right? And this is one thing that you love to speak about, is curiosity. Let me get curious about what I'm going to stalk the story. What does this mean about me? And then from that perspective, then we can Give me a few words on how we can, because we don't have to answer the question. Just because someone asks you a question does not mean you need to answer it, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were raised in a game show era, right? I made a little IGTV about this morning. I was like, my life is not Jeopardy. I don't have to hit that buzzer and have that quick response and be right all the time. I mean, we're, you know, it's part of what our, you know, our initiation into adulthood. And you're right. It's like, settle in. I keep getting settle in to what is now, settle into that. And stalking the story, it's like, you know, you got to be white on rice on this story. You got to be watching yourself like a hawk, because the mind acts so quickly and it's trained. You know, we have these time tests in school. We are trained to be quick. And what we've done is we've used our mind to be quick instead of the truth, which we can access here. Here is just this limited resources of information that we personally picked up along the way in our own experience. So that history, if we're only allowing our history to inform us, we are limiting access to all that is, because we are connected, believe it or not, to all beings everywhere through all time and space.
And can I interject right there? You're on such
Yes,
a beautiful
please.
role, but I want to say that history that you just referred to, none of it has anything to do with us. It has been it has been given to us. It has been projected onto us. We didn't come up with that organically. That is not our truth. That is almost always someone else's truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Or something, yeah, a collection of else's.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, and so it's important to settle in, and again, being in the unknown and having wonder, and let me hear the question again. I think I lost myself in the game show talk. So
Well, I mean, just the brilliance of that moment will permeate
stalking the
through
story.
the
Yeah, stalking the story. So, you know, it's always following the thread. If you think about this, we're all entangled with each other, right? There's this web, and it has like ancestral conditioning and societal conditioning and gender conditioning, all the conditionings. It's just like this web, it's just tangled up. And so if we can just begin to start like unraveling one thread and keep pulling at it, you know, I use this analogy with one of my clients recently. It's like a bunch of little gold chains that are all, you know, in a bundle. And it takes like some real concentration to start to pull on that one and just keep following it. So what does that mean? What does it mean if my husband thinks I'm a horrible housekeeper? What does that mean? What do I make that mean about me? Why do I need him to think that I'm a good housekeeper? What do I make it mean about me that I'm not? What am I making it mean about me that his view of me is so important? What does it matter? Because, you know, and collectively we can say, well, because he's my husband and he's the one that I want approval from the most, the one that I need approval from the most. But it's like, but why do I need his approval? And so if we start really following that, and I say, well, why do I need his approval? I'm kind of stumped for a minute, right? I'm like, well, because, I mean, everybody can agree with me. It's because he's my husband. But then if you go beyond that and just keep digging in and pulling that thread out and just really looking at it, it's like, well, what does it matter what he thinks of me? Ooh, what does it matter? Why does it matter what he thinks of me? Does it really matter? And how much am I putting importance on that it matters to me what he thinks of me? Like, what really matters to me is what I think of me. Right?
Say it again. Yeah, beautiful.
What really matters to me is what I think of me. And if my focus is on what everybody else thinks, then, you know, I'm setting myself up to be outwardly focused. And so that's part of stalking the story, is you really get to the truth. You know, don't dig halfway down the well, you know, down in the ground to get to the water. You got to dig all the way until you find what you're looking for. And patience and persistence and practice is key, and taking time for that.
Beautiful. And I want to reroute you back to what you were saying before I rudely interrupted, but that was such a pivotal moment there. But you were saying basically the programming, the left brain, the structure of what society and culture puts on us when that rapid fire, that game show process of behavior that we were taught. When you are in that side of the brain only, you really lose that intuitive, heart-centered data that's always there, but often ignored. So I think you were going to say something about, I had the feeling that you were going to something really profound and beautiful about how important it is to step away from that and get into the feminine, the quiet, the grace of the heart space and the right brain. Did you have any? Yeah.
Well, I've been taught recently that we have our brain can process up to 400 billion bits of information a second. 400 billion. And when we're in reaction and we're in that left brain only, we're accessing 2000, which is a big discrepancy. So it's being in that unknown and we're afraid of the unknown. And if I can impart one thing to all of you who watch this today, is like, practice being in the unknown, because the more comfortable you can be in the unknown, the more you can have faith in your ability to get the true answer, the ultimate right answer for yourself, and begin to have a dialogue with the goddess within you. And that's all unknown. That's all unknown. It's like, what, this morning I'm practicing this, is dialoguing with my higher self, dialoguing with the God within. Because we've all been practicing dialoguing with our ego. We have really got that down. And so when we can start to practice with that unknown, that mystery, the mysterious unknown, and become to where we're kind of floating in it and just really opening up to it, having a sensual experience, a sensational experience, in just this like place that is awe-inspiring. And when we open up to that, it's like leaning into the unknown is where we're going to be able to strengthen the gifts that we have for intuiting higher intelligence and tapping into that collective consciousness that is available to all of us, because we truly are connected to each other through all space and time. And in that space, we can experience the connection, but we're going at it like on this human form, which we are human, and in no way do we want to give up this opportunity. We chose to be human, so let's embrace that to the fullest spectrum available to us, So really feeling into that and allowing information to come to us rather than trying to grasp at it from those 2000 bits that we have access to based on our own individual unique history. And just really, that's the best thing to do in practicing that. This morning I didn't want to go for a walk, but when I tuned in, I just kept getting, go outside and go for a walk. I didn't have a whole lot of time. I was going to be in this this morning, but I was like, go do it. Just go do that. Take action in favor of what you get when you're in the unknown experience.
Beautiful. And
so it offers you, it's like incredible gifts.
Yeah, beautiful. And that's just one of the things that I'm so grateful that I've learned from you is tune in, because so often we tune out. It's very easy. Our culture is very
supportive in that.
Supports us to tune out a lot. And so just remembering to tune in, sticky notes are really good. Tune in, seeing what we need to do, or not we need to, but it's really it's rewarding when we reprogram our brain. That is sticky notes all over the house. Tune in, breathe, because we are oftentimes not taught to do that. And so when we reprogram, it's our operating system, right? So if we're running on an operating system, hit the buzzer, hit the buzzer, hit the buzzer, you know, it never occurs to us to tune in. It's like for some, it's like, oh, that, okay, that's a good idea. But
that's a strange, uncomfortable place to be, but hey,
how weird. And then tomorrow happens, and then we've forgotten it. So it's really about, remembering, putting that in the daily practice. And that can really bring a fountain of opportunity, knowledge, wisdom, tuning in with the body. I heard a really wonderful, I've been hearing this really wonderful concept of left brain is very electrical. It's like in and out, zit, 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 zit. Right brain is the magnetic, the magic, the magi, the gift of the magi, eternal, infinite, continuous. But like, think about electricity, right? Isn't that just gorgeous? You think about electricity and it's like zit, 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 one in, one out, done. One in, one out. And I see when you said that, we're processing 2,000 bits rather than the whatever number,
400 billion.
Thank you. When we're in that left brain, it's a very limited, defined place to be. We really shut out all of the options, all of the opportunities, or most of them that are available to us, because it's this hit the hand on the buzzer, electrical, one in, one out. And then when we say, oh, they've short-circuited, or they're, just it's what we say about when we just freak out and have to shut down. It's a very electrical, but the vocabulary is very electrical, masculine, so this right brain, let's switching over to this right brain, tuning in. That's a right brain activity. Taking a deep breath. That's a right brain activity. Having a very expansive idea of what could be, what's possible. Curiosity is a very right brain concept. And not defining what reality absolutely is, that is a very right brain concept. Feminine, I'm going to allow for all sorts of ideas. I'm going to make room for all sorts of possibilities. I'm going to be open and curious. All very right brain, all very magnetic flow, right? Are you getting this?
Giving up our need to know.
Yeah. And
giving
define.
up our need to know and define, and to put an explanation point at the end, or, a period. It's just keeping out of the finality of it. And really just having that wonder. I wonder what it would look like. I want to tell you while we're on this call, to brag on you, because my dear, dear friend, Rachel, who lives in Colorado now, she brings this up nearly every time we talk, but her whole life has changed since you introduced her to having wonder. I wonder what it would look like. And when we were doing those, the course that we offered last year, and she took it, and she's like, everything changed in her career and the way that she's showing up and serving, and her offerings all became from wondering what it would look like if. And so that, to have the coherence between that right brain, that heart and head connection, and integrating, we overuse our left brain. Let's create that harmony, the harmony, the symphony that we have, all of, using all of what's available to us and integrating it all and using it to the fullest potential that we have is, I think, just so remarkable. And I think that that's why all this stuff is dismantling right now. Everything, sometimes, we can invite an awakening, but most of us unconsciously invite a situation to create the awakening.
Right. A boom situation, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. A health problem, an accident, something that really shakes up our reality. And I think that collectively this is happening on a global scale, because, you know, an invitation to awaken, kind of comfortable with the way things are right now.
Right.
Right. And so something happens, a life event for me, you know, relationships not working was my invitation. That was what it took for me, because relationship is so important to me. So I had divorce number 1, divorce number 2, tumultuous relationship. And then it was like, okay. I'm sick and tired of this expression of myself. What can I do? And so it's like, really got curious. What did I want to do? How did I want to be? What did I want to experience? And then just, you know, but for some people, it's like smack up across the face, you know, that we have to have a pandemic or an uprising and culture clash or whatever to really get curious and be like, okay, what's happening?
Yes.
What's happening right now for me in my experience, and what would I love? Because if we're moving towards what we love, I mean, it's supported. It's so much more supported than moving away from what we don't want.
Yes, and focus creates reality, and we when we focus on what it is that isn't working, the universe, our higher self, however you want to put it, will just give us more evidence of that thing, right? So again, bringing it back to what we believe, what our belief system is, what our current focus is what we will see evidence of. That's one of those. It doesn't get any simpler than that. And the beauty in that is that all you have to do is change your beliefs. Well, maybe not easy as that.
Yeah, you got to change your relationship with them.
Yeah.
Because beliefs are pretty set. This is the thing. It's always going to be our orientation, but we can take the power out of them.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I think that when we are very firm and rigid on a belief system, the church is good. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, what we see about out there, when we look out there, when we believe something is true to the point of absolute rigidity and we will not change that, that can lead to suffering if we are not able to, at least, you know, back to the stand like mountain, move like water. It's super healthy and helpful to allow yourself to take in new information, and then maybe it's okay to shift your definition on things.
Yes.
Nothing is written in stone. And that's what I see this year is we are, you know, I talk about astrology so much, and I see new information coming in this year. A lot of things that have been out of our awareness, out of our field of awareness. And as we move into this new era of seeing things a little bit more clearly, we talk about the veil being lifted, the curtain is pulled back, we see the wizard behind the curtain is actually just a dude, right? And so that's shaking us up and down. So just backing off on those rigid definitions, I think, is just really one of the most helpful things that we can do. And I love how you have set that up for us, ways to do that we don't have to compromise we don't have to compromise ourselves at all. It's more just like, not, you know, we've got a white knuckle grip.
Yes, letting go of our attachment, because our attachment to the way things are is limiting us from seeing the way things really are.
Beautiful. On that, I think we can wrap this. I think this has been amazing. Jessica, thank you so much. Tell us where folks can find you if they want more of your magic and wisdom.
Oh, thank you. You can find me on Instagram at Jessica Rueger. And I also have a webpage, jessicarueger.com, JESSICARUEGER. Thanks for being here. Thank you for having me, Jen. It's always lovely to see your beautiful face and be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. This has been amazing, and I'm certain will be so helpful to so many in this time of ever-changing reality. Have a lovely day. Thanks, folks, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.